Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are well. I'm well, guys. I'm doing well. If you are seeing me for the first time, let me just introduce myself. My name is Debos Kosana, and this platform is the Labor Guide with Debos Kosana. This is where we talk all things labor related, labor relations related. To help me grow this platform, please subscribe, join to become a member, share the video on the social media platforms. It is very important so we are able to grow the platform and ensure that the kind of information that I'm sharing and the knowledge that I'm sharing reaches wider audiences, because it is important that in this day and age people know about their labor rights. Not only employees, but even the employers as well, because labor stability is very important. Labor stability is a key in building a thriving economy. You cannot build a thriving economy whereby there's no labor stability. You have to ensure that there is labor stability for you to be able to build a thriving economy, an economy that will be able to absorb people, meaning an economy that will create jobs for the millions and millions of our people who are unemployed. So this platform exists mainly for that. But for this platform to be able to fulfill its mandate, it needs your support. So today we are talking about the constructive dismissal. I'm asking you a question. Do you know what is a constructive dismissal in terms of the South African labor law? You probably have heard one or two people or even more speaking about a constructive dismissal. And you've always wondered, but what is that? What is this constructive dismissal? So as I already said, hello everyone and welcome to the Labor Guide with Debos Kosana. If this is your first time, my name is Debos Kosana, and on this channel we discuss South African labor law, workplace rights, CCMA procedures, unfair dismissals, labor disputes, and practical advice for both employees and employers. Today we are tackling a question that many workers ask after resigning from a toxic workplace. Because on social media, almost every day you'll hear about people complaining about a toxic workplace, a toxic environment where they find themselves in. So then they ask the question, can I take my employer to the CCMA even though I resigned? Right? So that's very important. I see Chris Walker saying, I need a job, but I don't have a matric. Well, Chris, I think you are part of the millions and millions of South Africans who are in desperate need of jobs. Hence, I'm saying we need to create an economy that is thriving, that will be able to employ more people and ensure that people are able to survive. So many people believe that once an employee resigns, that is the end of the matter. But under South African labor law, there are situations, right? There are situations where an employer or an employee resigns because the employer has made continued employment impossible. We know there are people who are managers, supervisors, sometimes even the bosses themselves, who make life a living hell for the employees. Chris Walker, we wish you everything of the best. I mean, wish you everything of the best that you do find employment. So, in those circumstances whereby an employer has made continued employment impossible, the law may regard that resignation as a dismissal. Yes. Let me repeat that. In those circumstances where an employer has made continued employment impossible, the law may regard that resignation as a dismissal. This is known as constructive dismissal. In today's video, we will discuss one, what constructive dismissal means. Two, the legal requirements. Three, examples of workplace conduct that may amount to constructive dismissal. Four, cases that normally fail at the CCMA. Five, the burden of proof. Six, how to refer a constructive dismissal dispute. Seven, remedies available to employees. Right? Seven, important lessons for employers. So stay until the end, because constructive dismissal is one of the most misunderstood areas of labor law in South Africa. Let us get into it. What is a constructive dismissal? A constructive dismissal is regulated by the Labor Relations Act number 66 of 1995, known as the LRA. According to section 186, subsection 1E of the Labor Relations Act, an employee is dismissed if the employee terminated employment with or without notice because the employer made continued employment intolerable for the employee. Now, let us simplify that. A constructive dismissal occurs when the employee resigns, when the resignation is not truly voluntary. 3, the employer's conduct has made working conditions unbearable or intolerable. Right? 4, the employee feels they have no reasonable alternative except resignation. In other words, the employer does not directly say you are fired. Instead, the employer creates conditions that effectively force the employee to leave. The law recognizes that forcing somebody out can be just as unfair as formally dismissing them. However, constructive dismissal is not easy to prove. The CCMA, which is the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration, and the labor courts have repeatedly stated that constructive dismissal is an exceptional remedy, and not every unpleasant workplace situation qualifies. why the law recognizes constructive dismissal. Imagine an employer wants an employee gone, right? But does not want to follow disciplinary procedures. Instead of dismissing the employee lawfully, the employer might, one, constantly harass the employee, two, humiliate them publicly, three, ignore serious grievances, four, reduce their duties unfairly, five, victimize them, six, create impossible working conditions. Eventually, the employee resigns. Without constructive dismissal protections, employers could simply make workers miserable until they quit. The Labor Relations Act prevents this by treating certain resignations as dismissals. The focus is therefore not on the resignation itself. The focus is on what caused the resignation. The critical question therefore becomes, did the employer make continued employment intolerable? That's a test. Now let's get to the requirements. There are three main requirements to succeed in a constructive dismissal claim. An employee generally needs to prove three things. Requirement number one: the employee resigned. This may seem obvious. If there is no resignation, there can be no constructive dismissal. The employee must have terminated the employment relationship. The resignation can be immediate or with notice. Either way, there must be a resignation. Requirement number two: working conditions became intolerable. This is the most important requirement. Notice that the law does not use the word difficult. It uses the word intolerable. So there is a major difference. Many workplaces by nature are stressful. Many managers are difficult. Many employees experience conflict. But stress, conflict, or unhappiness alone does not necessarily amount to constructive dismissal. The situation must be so serious that a reasonable person would find continued employment unbearable. The CCMA will consider 1, the seriousness of the conduct. 2, how long it continued. 3, whether it affected the employee's dignity. Whether the conduct was deliberate. Whether the employee attempted to resolve the problem. The standard is high, very high. Requirement number 3. The employer was responsible. Right. The intolerable conditions must be caused by the employer. This may involve 1, owners, 2, managers, 3, supervisors, 4, HR personnel, 5, other employees whose conduct, right, the employer failed to address. Meaning the employer condoned that conduct. The employee must show a connection between the employer's actions or omissions and the resignation. Must be able to draw the links and the connections. Examples of possible constructive dismissal. Now, let us look at practical examples. Example number 1, persistent workplace bullying. Suppose a supervisor insults an employee daily, shouts at them in front of colleagues, calls them names, threatens them constantly. The employee lodges complaints. Management ignores the complaints. Months later, the employee resigns. This could potentially amount to constructive dismissal. Example number 2, sexual harassment ignored by management. An employee repeatedly reports sexual harassment. The employer does nothing about it. No investigation, no disciplinary action, no protection. The harassment continues. Eventually, the employee resigns. The employer's failure to act may create intolerable working conditions. Example number 3, demotion without justification. An employee is suddenly stripped of responsibilities. Their authority is removed. Their status is reduced. There is no consultation, no valid reason, no fair process. The humiliation and loss of dignity becomes unbearable. This could potentially support a constructive dismissal claim. Example number 4, victimization after whistleblowing. An employee reports fraud corruption, theft, or misconduct. After reporting the issue, they are isolated, excluded from meetings, targeted by management, subjected to hostility. Right? The pressure becomes, right? The pressure becomes overwhelming, right? And they resign. A constructive dismissal claim may arise out of that. Okay? Example number 5. Failure to pay remuneration. Imagine an employer, right? Imagine an employer repeatedly fails to pay salaries on time. The employees cannot pay rent, cannot buy food, cannot support their families. The situation continues despite complaints. The employee eventually resigns. Repeated non-payment may create intolerable conditions. Cases that usually fail. Now, let us discuss situations where employees often lose constructive dismissal cases because it does happen. This is extremely important. Situation number 1. The employee simply dislikes the manager. Many employees resign because they do not get along with management. Personality clashes happen, but the CCMA generally requires more than mere dislike or tensions. There must be genuine intolerability. Situation 2. Better job opportunities. If an employee resigns because another employer offers better pay or better benefits, that is not constructive dismissal. That is voluntary resignation. Situation 3. Failure to use internal procedures. Suppose the employer has 1. A grievance procedure, 2. HR channels, 3. Complaint mechanisms. But the employee resigns immediately without attempting to use them. The CCMA may ask, why did you not first give the employer an opportunity to fix the problem? This can weaken, right? This can weaken the employee's case significantly. Situation 4. Ordinary workplace stress. Most workplaces involve pressure, deadlines, targets, performance standards, workload challenges. These factors alone do not usually amount to constructive dismissal. The conduct must go beyond ordinary workplace difficulty. The burden of proof. One of the biggest challenges in constructive dismissal cases is the burden of proof. The employee carries the initial burden. The employee must prove they resigned, right? Shamila Neka, he speaks a lot of sense. This is when workers become despondent. Definitely, Definitely. That's when workers become despondent because of the working environment. But some of them now do not know how to handle it. And it's also important that employers must ensure that they've got mechanisms in place, the channels in terms of the grievances and all of that, where the employees can ventilate some of these issues. Thank you, Shamila Naika. So the employee carries the initial burden. The employee must prove that they resigned. They must prove the conditions were intolerable. The employee must prove the employer caused those conditions. Evidence is therefore crucial. Examples include emails, WhatsApp messages, grievance forms, witness statements, medical reports where relevant, meeting records, disciplinary documents, and written complaints. The more evidence available, the stronger the case becomes. Importantly, remember this. The CCMA decides cases based on evidence, not on emotions. Therefore, how to refer a constructive dismissal dispute? If an employee believes they were constructively dismissed, they may refer the dispute to the CCMA or relevant bargaining council. The referral must generally be made within 30 days from the date of dismissal. Since constructive dismissal involves resignation, the relevant date is usually the resignation or the termination date. The employee will normally complete a referral form and provide details explaining why they resigned, what conduct made employment intolerable, why resignation became the only reasonable option. The dispute usually starts with conciliation. If unresolved, it then may proceed to arbitration. The employees should keep copies of all documents and evidence before leaving employment. This is extremely important. Possible remedies. If the employee succeeds, several remedies may be available. This can include reinstatement. The employee returns to work. Naila Shamas, hi Naila Shamas, thank you for tuning in. Please guys, remember to subscribe. Remember to join as well. Help me to grow the platform, guys. So if the employee succeeds, several remedies may be available. This can include reinstatement. The employee therefore returns to work. Although in constructive dismissal matters, this is often impractical because the employment relationship may already be severely damaged, right? Re-employment is option number 2. The employee returns under agreed terms. Number 3, compensation. The employee may receive compensation for the unfair dismissal. The amount depends on the circumstances and applicable legal principles. Each case is decided on its own facts. There is no automatic payout. Success depends on proving the claim. Important lessons for employers. For employers watching this video, constructive dismissal cases provide important lessons. Employers should take grievances seriously. Number 2, investigate complaints promptly. Number 3, address harassment immediately. Number 4, treat employees with dignity and respect. Number 5, follow fair procedures. Number 6, maintain proper records. Ignoring workplace problems can create legal risks and unnecessary disputes. A healthy workplace benefits everyone. So in conclusion, To summarize, a constructive dismissal occurs when an employee resigns because the employer has made continued employment intolerable. The employee must generally prove they resigned, conditions were intolerable, the employer was responsible, resignation was the only reasonable option. Constructive dismissal claims are not easy to win. But when an employer has genuinely forced an employee out through unfair conduct, South African labor law provides protection. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on CCMA procedures, unfair dismissals, labor law rights, employment contracts, disciplinary hearings, retrenchments, and workplace dispute resolution. Leave your questions in the comment section below. Have you ever experienced a situation that you believe amounted to constructive dismissal? Zonke Ndlovu, hi Zonke Ndlovu, and thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, please like the video, and please join to become a member. Share your experience in the comments. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, know your rights, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to leave my details on a pinned comment. I'm going to leave my email address. If you want consultation, it's 500 Rand for consultation. I'm going to leave my contact numbers there as well. Thank you very much guys for tuning in. See you next week again when we're going to be dealing with a different topic. While you comment in the comment section, guys, please suggest the topics that you would like me to go live on. Please suggest the topics that you'd like me to clarify on. Thank you very much guys for tuning in. Siyabulela, ngiyabonga.